There's challenges with preserving democracy at home. Is administration concerned that some of these things are undermining his ability to work with allies on these issues?
We have not seen that at all. The story of the unity on this throughout has been a story of the president's personal leadership of America and of the deep credibility that he has with these leaders. This could go on for quite some time, and to sustain that unity as costs rise, as the tragedy unfolds, that's hard work.
Texas Congressman Michael McCaul, ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Great to have you this morning, Congressman. First of all, what's your response to what Jake Sullivan is saying there? Do you agree that the president is leading abroad and at home to the point that he should be?
Well, I do think that one man has unified NATO more than any other, and that's Mr. Putin. I do give the administration marks for getting NATO together, the UN Security Council, the resolution 141-5. But then, when he goes off script, Harris, every time he does that, he seems to cause an international incident, and we get way off messaging. It's not the policy of the United States to have regime change. And he's always talking about not escalating, which is the reason why they didn't send the MiG jets into Ukraine in the first place, because they don't want to be too provocative. I think this is why you saw an NBC News poll saying that 70% of the American people believe he's not doing a very good job as a wartime, president. And if you talk to Zelensky, and I was with the Ukrainian ambassador yesterday, what were the deliverables that came out of this meeting at NATO? Other than talking about maybe giving more energy to Europe rather than Russia, well, why did you waive the mandatory sanctions on Nord Stream 2? What he needs, Zelensky desperately needs, not only these jets, but the S-300 anti-aircraft that would give him his no-fly zone. I saw no movement on that issue at all, and that is what he needs now, today. We can't waste any more time with this.
You're on Capitol Hill. You're leading. You're the ranking member of a pertinent committee in this whole conversation about what to do with and for Ukraine. Why do you think President Biden and the White House are not doing more?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the first question I asked was, okay, what happened with Slovakia? What happened with the Eastern NATO countries that have this S-300? Remember, S-300 is like our Patriot battery system. It's an anti-aircraft. It's Russian, so they know how to operate it. That's really what they need. And then, well, we have to backfill it with something. Well, go ahead and backfill it with our Patriot missile system in Slovakia and in Eastern Europe, NATO countries. Same thing happened when I was over in Poland, Harris, when they were talking about the MiG jets, just the pilots coming over from Ukraine, flying them into Poland, into Ukraine. But then, we can't backfill 2 F-16s to give Poland more force protection. This could all be done if we had American leadership at the table. And then, unfortunately, as I said, the outcome, there was no outcome. Zelensky didn't get any more weapons than the day before they started these meetings.
It is hard to believe that Biden's name is being spoken as much as Putin's name today because of that gaffe, not because of all the things that you just listed that militarily need and could be done. House Republicans are demanding answers about an internal FBI audit, which found the Bureau has broken its own rules in hundreds of investigations. The 2019 audit only came to light earlier this month, and it mentions more than 700 so-called compliance errors, including questionable surveillance of politicians and religious groups. Congressman Andy Biggs had this to say.
Did mention that there were things like search warrant and other procedural errors, and we really need to get to the bottom of that. And then the other aspect to it, Ainsley, is that Christopher Wray was before Congress and testifying that they always follow these predicates and these rules. Well, we need to find out if they've actually corrected these, who was targeted, why they were targeted, and how these errors might have in fact impacted these investigations.
So what do you do about this? How do you investigate the investigators?
Well, you have an outside investigator. That would be Inspector General. I would call upon an outside investigation by the Inspector General. You can't do this now internally. I was a federal prosecutor for many years. I respected the weight of authority and power that a federal prosecutor and FBI agent has. If that power is abused, there's nothing worse And so it sounds to me like what's happening is FBI agents are running around in a rogue fashion, not consulting with the prosecutor like myself, who would guide them as to what the law requires, but rather starting their own investigations, not working with the prosecutor, not going through the proper channels of review, not only within the FBI, but, you know, I was in the public integrity section. We focused on public corruption, including members of Congress. In that day, the layers of review are very, very high. In fact, in many cases, went all the way to the Attorney General. It sounds like the review process has been you know, basically violated, and it's you know, like the fox guard in the hen house. I think an outside inspector general investigation is now warranted. Well,
if there's 700 of these violations, they better get on it, because I can only imagine when something's that egregious, potentially it will grow. Congressman McCaul, thank you for being in focus today. Good to see you.
No, thanks, Harris. Thanks for having me, as always.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.